Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Carl's Roller Coaster Podcast. Hello, Raphael, my dear friend. How are you? Finally, I got to get you here at the roller coaster, brother. Welcome.
Thank you, my friend. It's a pleasure. I miss you. Last time we saw each other was Europe.
USA?
June?
No, in US. We were together in Los Angeles.
USA, yeah. September, yeah.
Yep. We did.
Yeah, so it's been 6 months.
It's been a while, yeah. Miss you too, my friend. Miss you too. We've been on a sequence of many years that we get to see each other very frequently. Lots of touring, lots of work taking place on the Ego Kill Talent side of things, and I'm sure we're gonna touch into that later on in our conversation. But I'd like to thank you first and foremost for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Rafa, we know when we go a long way back, but obviously I'd like to start from the beginning, the early days of Raphael in this world, and if you could tell us a little bit about how was your upbringing, where were you born, how was your childhood? Tell us a little bit about the little Rafa that perhaps most of the people listening to this don't know about.
I was born in Rio, Brazil, in 1980, September 1st. And I had a pretty cool upbringing. My parents divorced when I was 12. And it wasn't a bit of a, how can I say that? Palavra me fugiu. Trauma. It was not a big trauma. It was very okay. And at that point, I was already playing drums. I was 12 when they split. I began playing acoustic guitar when I was 9. Then I moved to electric guitar when I was 10. And when I was 11, I went to the drums and never went back. And I think the main reason let me get into the music. The main reason I began paying attention in music and playing instruments and looking at the musicians and paying attention to that was when MTV Brazil came around. It was the end of 1990, I think. And it pretty much shaped my character and my musical taste. And a lot of the stuff I listen to still to this day come from that period, you know. Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Faith No More, Iron Maiden, B-52s, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Raimundos, which is a Brazilian band. So I remember when I was 11, a friend of mine who lived on the upper floor, he bought a drum kit, and I was like a pain in the ass going to his house every day to play his drums, and his parents were like very pissed off with me because I would go there and stay for hours playing his drums. And finally my dad said, I think you like it. I'm going to give you a drum kit. So I was 11 when I got my first drum kit. It was a Taiko drum kit. Was a Brazilian brand. It doesn't exist anymore. Actually, I was trying to get that drum kit back because I gave it to a friend of mine, and I don't know what he did with it. I phoned him a few months ago asking about it, and he doesn't remember. So I lost it. Anyway, but that was the very beginning of it, and I was playing with my friends at school, the friends from the neighborhood, joined local bands, and that's pretty much how it started. And then I began gravitating towards instrumental music because of my dad. My dad loves jazz. He listens to a lot of jazz. And I love jazz because of him. And I think that kind of shaped my drumming a little bit, because I was not only on the rock metal world, you know. I was trying to emulate what those guys were doing. At that time, there was no YouTube, so I would listen to the music and try to emulate it, try to figure out what they were doing. And an interesting thing that happened to me, I had a Dave Weckl CD. It was called Heads Up, and I listened to a lot of I listened a lot to that album, and the first song which was my favorite. I learned it just by listening, and I played that a lot. Then a few years later, Dave Weckl did a workshop in a masterclass in Rio, and I went there to see it. And some guy asked him to play that exactly song, and it was totally different from what I thought it was. But I was very satisfied with it, because although it was different, he was playing different, the sound was correct. So I began learning the drums by listening, not by watching. So that also helped me a lot with the musical perception of things, what each instrument does, and how things are structured, and how I build my memory, my musical memory, because I was only listening, and I had to play that, to learn by listening. And I'm going everywhere with this.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it because I personally didn't know about that. I wasn't aware of your fascination with jazz music, and I didn't know that your dad was a big influence, a musical influence on you, and specifically with the jazz genre. So that's really, really fascinating. And what you were saying now, it really does give a lot of context to the musician that you are, because obviously you play guitar, you play the bass, but you focus mainly on drums nowadays. And would you recollect when was the first time that you kind of had a spark within you to actually, I actually want to do this on a bigger scale. I want to try and actually have a band that we might be able to, get into some gigs, getting into more into the, obviously not back then, you wouldn't think with that word, but technically speaking, more into a business, how can we pay for those things? How can you go and do this show? How can you get this artwork done? And how we're going to fund this? Because when you're starting, you have a group of friends that you're playing music with, and everyone is tipping in, and you're making decisions together on the go. So when was the first time that you recollect, or perhaps the first group that you were involved, that that took place, that you basically created something that led you into kind of like, okay, this might be something that I might want to do it professionally in the future? Yeah.
When Sepultura released Arise, the Arise album, which is, to me, is a masterpiece. I know that every note of that album. When they released that, and there were videos on MTV Brazil, I began to pay attention to the drum set. I was watching Igor play, and he's one of my biggest influences. I love his drumming. But when I saw Lars Ulrich, I said, that's what I want to do. So Lars is the main reason. And I think Metallica is a big example of career managing, longevity, the way they deal with problems, the business side of things, the way they do it. So I think in general, Metallica is the reason I do what I do today.
It's really fun to think about it, and I'm going to take a little bit of a tangent now because last year we did the tour. Ego Kill Talent did the tour with Metallica in Brazil, and I remember those are the magical moments in life that we will never forget, because we were in the band's dressing room, in the Ego Kill Talent dressing room on the second show of that tour, and you had prepared something extremely special for Lars, and Lars walked into the dressing room, and you've managed to talk to him and present him with the drum kit, and obviously so many other things happened after that on that tour, and the connection with him. Let's take a little bit of a tangent, because I think it's really important to give a little bit of context to what you just said, Metallica being such an inspiration for you for many, many years, and then eventually you were doing a tour with Metallica. But not only that, because most artists, they end up one day, perhaps if they're lucky, opening a show for their heroes, maybe saying hello and taking a quick picture with them. But what happened with you and Ego Kill Talent and Theo, yourself and Theo in particular, during that tour and that period was quite something. So tell us a little bit about how that tour go and what happened during that tour and afterwards.
Yeah, first of all, that tour was supposed to happen in 2020. So we were, I think it was supposed to happen in May 2020, something like that. And we confirmed in December of 2019. So COVID came and it was postponed to December, and then it was postponed again with no dates. So it was like I was so frustrated, because it was one of the main dreams of my life to play with those guys. And so when COVID came and it was postponed once and then twice, and then I remember James went to rehab, and I was like, man, I don't think it's gonna happen. So that's life. There's nothing I can do about it. But then they confirmed for it was May 2022, last year, and man, I was so anxious. I was like kind of rehearsing what I would say to those guys, because it was a feeling like I'm gonna meet some old friends, because I know everything about their music. I know a lot of stuff about their lives, because I follow the band. I've been following the band since I was 11. I'm 42 now, so 31 years being a Metallica fan. So when Lars came to the dressing room, I was talking with Theo, and I was facing him. He was facing the door. And we were talking, and he looked over my shoulder, and he was like this. And I said, what's happening? Then I looked back, and Lars was just behind us. And man, it gets me goosebumps just remembering. And then he was the nicest guy ever. He was everything I imagined. He was very warm, very welcoming. He said if we needed anything, just let him know. He asked about the band, about what we've been doing. Said he was really happy to have us on tour. We were talking about a friend in common, which is Charles Walker, which is one of our managers, one of the owners of C3 Management. He's a very close friend of Lars. So we had a conversation for like 40 minutes, and then I said, Lars, I have something for you. And he was, for me? Why? Why? Is there a gift for me? What is it? Then I came with the snare drum I made specially for him. It's a aluminum snare drum with. Have you ever noticed that on every post he does on Instagram, he puts a hashtag wanna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
made a badge with that hashtag and put it on the snare drum, and I wrote something for him inside of the drum. So I gave it to him, and everyone was telling me afterwards, man, did you see the look in his eyes? He was very it touched him.
He was touched.
He was very impact. Yeah. And he read it and he thanked me. We took a picture, and when he left the dressing room, I cried. I just cried because it was such a I get emotional even now. It was just
a pinnacle.
How can I say?
A pinnacle.
Yeah.
Something
It was. Man, that guy is the reason I do what I do today. That guy is the reason I play drums. And that was very special. I didn't even make any post on the internet. I just kept it for me. You know, maybe I will do it sometime, but not yet. But then Lars left, and 10 minutes later, James came in. Do you remember that?
I do. He was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in Curitiba.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so nice, man. He was, again, James was also everything I have imagined he was, you know. Very humble, very nice. We gave him a box of cigars, Brazilian cigars. Some of the best cigars in Brazil. He really liked it. And he watched every show on that tour, our show. He was on the side of the stage, smoking a cigar with a cowboy hat every night, banging to the music. It was, man, that was very special. That tour and the one we did with the Foo Fighters, those two moments to me were some of the most unforgettable moments of my life, you know, because of what those guys mean to me, you know. And if I told the little Rafa, the 11 years old Rafa, he would, you know, meet Lars at Starbucks in San Francisco for a cup of coffee and a chat, I would say, oh man, that's bullshit. Don't say that.
Man, so yeah, the tours sound fucking unbelievable. I mean, how many artists can you think in life that one day we'll be able to say that toured stadiums, let alone stadiums with two of arguably the biggest rock bands in the world, Metallica and the Foo Fighters. And that brings like basically the Ego Kill Talent career path so far, because not many artists in the world, and in Brazil for sure, have had the opportunities and the team, the management, the label, the booking agency that Ego Kill Talent, the business structure that Ego Kill Talent worked very hard and managed to establish for itself. So when it comes to that, having put together a band with a very concise team of musicians, very great, well-made albums and recordings, including the second album, which was recorded at 606 Studios, the Foo Fighters studio in Los Angeles. When it comes to the business structure of it, how and what are your memories and any kind of like input that you could give, especially to people trying to kind of like get into this world of like having a career and trying to set up themselves a chance to have a career? How would you see it, and what would you say in regards to that? Because having C3 as the band management, BMG as the label, and WME, William Morris, as the booking agent, I don't think any South American artists have that. Maybe a pop artist that I'm not aware of, but definitely not a rock or a metal band.
Yeah, that was something that has been constructed for a long time. We've been together as a band since 2014, so it's been almost 10 years, which is a lot, but not very much. And but when we got to the point where we had a manager and a booking agent, it was a few years back, and we were a pretty young band to have that, you know. Man, it's hard to tell what to do, you know, to get to a point like this. It's been just hard work and believing in it. And I think the main thing I would say is that the focus is the music. It's not the business. Although the business is a very important aspect of it, the business is what is going to give you structure and a good team to work for you, to promote your songs, to book your shows. If the music is not good enough, which is very subjective, what's good, but anyway, if the music is not good enough and you're not focusing enough on your music, all the rest is useless, I think. But yeah, it's kind of, I think it's kind of hard to come with a kind of a formula, you know. I think it's just that hard work and believing in it. And I've been seeing a lot of bands, even the big bands that we've been listening to for our whole lives. They all have that in common: the music first, and believing in the music, and not doing it because of some trend or because you want to get famous, but doing it because you love it, because you have something to say, and never stop. I remember when I was in my school days, I had a lot of friends who were metalheads like me, they all had bands, and none of them is a musician nowadays. Only as a hobby, some of them. But I was insisting. I love this. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do, no matter what. And I think that's the secret, which is not really a secret, you know.
But there is also a very important aspect, which is the entrepreneurial aspect of it. And I remember you and Theo being together on the early days as friends and eventually as colleagues in bands prior to Ego Kill Talent and in business as well. You guys put together many years ago what was a big and great rock festival in Brazil. And you had on that lineup an incredible lineup of artists and some of the long-standing friends from that era in the business, like agents and promoters and people like that. Those friendships and those relationships, they sustained the time. The time passed, and they proved to be long-term relationships and long-term friendships because of what you developed with these people on a professional level, not as musicians, but as individuals and as businessmen. So if you could tell us a little bit about the festivals, how, like briefly, you know, how did the idea came up? How did you and Theo decide, okay, we might give it a shot at this, and eventually, you know, having a stellar lineup that you've had back then?
Yeah, we Theo and I we go back from since the 2000 I think, or no, 1999, and we met at a Metallica show, and long story short, we had a band together, and we did everything ourselves. We would print the album sleeves, and we would hire a photographer. We would do everything ourselves. So that's where I think we began to build that entrepreneurial aspect of things, you know.
That was Sayoa,
and,
right?
Sayoa, yeah. And Theo is great at that. Theo, we always say that Theo is our Lars, because he is the guy, just like you. I think you and him, you have a talent. That's a talent to, you know, connect with people. You know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. When the band was like slowing down, we came up with this idea of doing a festival here in São Paulo. The first one was called Maquinaria, which was in 2009. And we had Fate No More. We had Jane's Addiction, Deftones. Was really cool. Was a really cool festival. Evanescence, Panic at the Disco was really amazing. And after that, we had SW, which was starts with you, the name. And that one was in 2010. And to me, that one was the most incredible one. We had Rage Against the Machine, Queens of the Stone Age, Tiesto, Kings of Leon, Dave Matthews Band, Joss Stone, Cavalera Conspiracy, Sublime with Rome, the Mars Volta.
Wow.
Avenged Sevenfold. It was amazing.
Wow.
I heard that later that year, or in early 2011, some magazine said that lineup was the best one in the world in 2010.
I mean, it doesn't come as a surprise, because the names that you've just listed, for sure, I don't think that has ever, I mean, nothing remotely similar to that has ever happened in South America ever since, probably. I don't even know if, like, obviously Lollapalooza and Rock in Rio, those are ridiculously enormous festivals, and they have a very varied lineup. But when you think of a rock festival, the names that you've just mentioned, and even the pop ones like Joss Stone, like, it's amazing. And this is like, we're talking, like you said, like 13 years ago. So yeah, impressive.
Yeah. And we on the next year we had Faith No More, Kanye West, Snoop Dogg, the Black Eyed Peas.
I didn't
Lynyrd
know
Skynyrd,
that. You had Snoopy.
Primus.
You had Snoopy Dogg. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Man, that was really cool.
That was SW2.
Stone Temple Pilots.
Stone Temple
Megadeth.
Wow.
Down, Alice in Chains, Chris Cornell, solo, just him and a guitar. That was really cool.
Man, that must have been must have been like so much work. Like, I can't even comprehend the amount of work to get it. I mean, to put together a gig with 5 bands, it's a lot of work. But a festival of that magnitude, with obviously all the money involved, the ins and outs, I mean, it's wow. It's really something that I mean, kudos to you for having had the balls to actually do such thing, because I mean, it must have been, now talking about it, it sounds really incredible, but there must have been during the days of the shows and the upcoming the days leading to the festival, you guys were probably very stressed out, just running around and like, is everything all right? Is everything gonna happen as we planned? But that's fantastic, and I think that the whole process of putting all of that together most certainly helped the band and Ego Kill Talent on the coming years. And I didn't know that the window was so short, because if SW was the first one in 2010 and the second one 2011, that means that literally just 3 years after that, Ego Kill Talent was being formed.
Yeah, exactly. And but you know what, though, that period we did the festivals, that was the most sad period of my life.
Oh wow!
Because making music is it's what I always loved, and when we did the festivals, I just almost stopped playing. I was living in Rio at the time, and the festivals were in São Paulo, so I was back and forth every week, and I lost contact with most of my friends, and I was not playing. I would play like 1 or 2 shows a year. So, but I'm very grateful for that period, because we've learned a lot about the business side of things, and we've made some of the contacts. We've been very grateful to be using now with the band. You know, our agent, Rob Marcus, we met at that time. He booked Faith No More for us on the first festival, Maquinaria. And he's been incredible with us. But also John Silva, the Foo Fighters manager. So a lot of those contacts made in that period, we still have to this day, thanks to Theo, because he knows how to do it, how to manage things, you know, to keep in touch and to send heads up and say, hey, I'm here, remember me. He knows how to do that. So, but one thing it's very important to say is that a lot of people think the band is where it is today because we know people. And that's not really true. because we had the band, we had the first album released, we did a lot of stuff, and
the first album was released independently, wasn't it?
Independently, yeah. We flew Steve Evans to São Paulo, the producer. We did it ourselves with Steve, and we released it ourselves. We did all of it ourselves. We already knew Rob Marcus and John Silva and everyone at that time, and Rob Marcus would sign us some years later when he saw it was solid and the music was good, and he saw it was for real, you know. And he even said that. He said, he told Theo, man, if your music was shitty, I would love to be your friend, but I would not sign you. So we say, as we say in Brazil, how do you say that in English? Amigos, negócios à parte.
Fuck, how do you say that? I don't think there's actually anything that you would say. Like, well, there must be something like that, but I just can't think of it right now. But it's like, you know, let's just do the literal translations. Friends, but business aside.
Yeah, exactly. So that that's it. We did everything ourselves, and now we're signed with BMG,
and I think that's an interesting point as well, because the moment that the band was actually already touring with the Foo Fighters and going into 606 studios, the band wasn't signed to BMG, the band wasn't signed to William Morris, you know. The band had a good partner as with Warner Chappell as a publisher, but the band didn't have a label and the band didn't have a booking agency. So everything that led to the band basically recording the second album at 606 Studios, which includes the touring with the Foo Fighters, touring Europe with Shinedown, with In Temptation, doing shows with System of a Down in Europe. All of those, none of that came from a big, higher up agent getting the band opportunities. That was all down to you guys working together, putting your sleeves up and trying to figure out how to make things work. So I think that's really, really important. I love the fact that you brought that up so people can actually understand that. Yes, it is very important to have a label. It is very important to have a great booking agent. It is very important to have a good publisher. It's very important to have all of that a business structure built. But one very important thing that most people will not realize is that when Ego Kill Talent signed and got all this business set up, what happened? 2020, COVID hit. And I remember that year very well, because in January of 2020, I was working already for the band for like the Metallica shows that were going to be in April, Danny Wimmer festivals in North America, in the US, also with Metallica in May, all the European festivals on that summer, shows with System of a Down in Europe. The band was supporting System of a Down on their arena tour in Europe. And there was lots of other talks and things for the second semester, or things that were being lined up to happen. And then COVID hit. So, COVID hit. Tell us a little bit about how did you yourself personally navigate that period, and what happened with the band on that period, and eventually 2022, and what's the current status of the business now?
Yeah, when COVID hit, I had just moved to the house where I live today. I used to live in an apartment before, but I moved to the house. And now speaking of me first, then I'll speak about the band. And I now have a studio at home, which is where I'm at right now. So this kind of saved me, this studio, because I was very frustrated with not doing things we were planned to do. The future was very bright for us on that year, and I was very frustrated, and I would spend the whole day here every day just recording stuff, making music, making demos, and that was kind of therapy for me. I got to a point where I was like, okay, I don't know if this is if life's gonna get normal again. If it doesn't, it is what it is. I'm just going to accept it the way it is, and that's it. I'm gonna go on making music, and that's it. Let's see what happens. And I remember when it was like September 2020 or 21. Do you remember that when we did the Bob Burnquist show? And
it was September.
Was 21?
21, yeah.
21, yeah. That was like very. We were very excited with that, because life was maybe coming back to normal, and we would start doing shows again. And we did the Live on the Flat Screen, which was a kind of a live show in the studio. It's on YouTube, which is really cool, actually. And but again, it was just that people were doing just live shows on the internet, live streaming stuff, and the format of things was just changing. You know, people used to do live streaming before, but it became really strong at that time, and people were making money out of it. But we always were a live band. That doesn't work for us. We have to play shows. So we decided, okay, let's write music. Let's do it. Let's just write music. We were kind of not kind of. We were extremely frustrated with not being able to promote the second album, Dance Between Extremes. It was supposed to be in 2020 when we released the album, and we were like, okay, let's just accept it. We're not going to promote this album. It's in the past. Let's look forward and do the next one. Let's make another record. So that's what we've been doing since then, and we've been through some changes. A big change lately. We changed our singer. Now it's a woman, which is amazing, and we've been writing stuff, and I think we're kind of almost ready after COVID. We're just writing music. We have to rehearse. We still have to rehearse, especially the new material. We change a lot the way we write music, which is something really fresh and new. So we're kind of getting used to it. We had to change the keys of every song to play with Emily. which was really cool. They all sound a lot different. So I think we're still recovering from COVID, but we are very excited with the future.
Yeah, I think that the band you guys have managed to really give support to each other as friends throughout the whole period, and now post-COVID, with lineup changes that you mentioned that took place, really supporting each other and really gathering forces, because obviously you guys have, families, and you guys have a lifetime in music, and undergoing changes when things are just like literally taking off. It's always a hard thing to do, and having each other's back, being able to support each other when we're feeling down, because it's just normal. We're not going to be 100% great all the time. Nobody really is, especially in such a small window of time. We don't realize, but literally like year and a half ago, we were still COVID times, so people are recovering from that period. The economy in the world is still recovering, and not getting too much into politics, but like then you have wars and you have other things. The economical climate on the planet is very unstable, and in one way or another that plays a role as well in music, because like I said, and I keep going back to that, people I think nowadays more, but most certainly when me and you started playing in bands 20 years ago, most musicians, most friends would never think of a band being a business, but it is a business. I mean, how do you think that? How do you buy your guitar strings before you have an endorsement? How do you pay for the studio that you record? How do you pay the phone bill to call a producer in Europe or in America to discuss things? Nowadays it's easier with internet and stuff, but when we started a few decades ago, we had to literally make phone calls, and those costed a lot. So I think that the fact that you guys, and also the people backing the band, the structure, the business structure, remain there. It's basically a very solidified structure. There is that. None of the partners decided to let go or leave. Much of the country, people are really, really engaged and believing in it. And I like to stress this because people don't realize, but I can't, even in Brazil, having such big icon as Sepultura doesn't play the festivals that Ego Kill Talent was playing in America. Sepultura doesn't play most of actually the main festivals that Ego Kill Talent was playing in Europe, and actually the shows that Ego Kill Talent was doing. And with that, I'm not saying that one is better than the other or worse than the other. It's not that at all. It's just that for a new band, a new artist coming from Brazil, which already makes things much more difficult. Every time you have to do a show in Europe, people don't realize, but there's a huge cost of traveling, band and gear and crew and everything else. There's a lot of planning into all of those things, in order to make the opportunities happen. Because sometimes you might get an opportunity, but you're going to be like, how are we going to make this happen? And it's like any other business. You kind of have to really believe. You have to have a strong team behind you. And I personally am just stoked that the band is working full on, and I know what's coming. And I mean, I'm just like super looking forward to it, because for the first time in many years so far, there aren't any Ego Kill Talent shows booked. And that really frustrates me as well, because every year we get to see each other at least because of work. And I think that the good thing about the work that we do is that we get to work with friends, with people that we really love, that we really want to be around. And I think that's one of the blessings of actually doing the things that we do as well. Because at the end of the day, it is a business, it is a job, but doing a job and making a living eventually of something with of music, of art, with people that you really want to be with, that inspire you in many ways, that you grow together. It's just fantastic. It's just fantastic. And I'm really, really looking forward to, Eagle Kill Talent getting back on the road. Really am.
Me too, man. We're very blessed to have amazing people with us. It's a kind of a cliche to say that, but it's a kind of family. Everybody says that, but it's very true. It ends up being a kind of a family. You travel together. You're hanging with those guys every day, all the time. You're going on planes together, on buses together, and going through hard times, good times, and it's we've been working with some very supportive people, amazing people. Everyone. You're one of those people, and man, those guys, I want to carry for the rest of my life. Even if someday the band comes to an end, which will happen sooner or later, right? Because everything comes to an end someday. Hopefully it will be in 40 years, but I really believe all these people will be still after that. Even the people who work with us, how can I say that, indirectly, but we're very, very blessed to have all of you.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure. I mean, like the this is one of the things that I always emphasize when I talk about the band, the fact that, I mean, we are all friends, and we will. We go beyond the business and the music aspect of it, but we are all drawn by the artist, by the music, because that's what makes, like, this particular area of our relationship thrive. The business aspect of it, the music, the touring, the recording, but that's not all we talk about. I mean, we are close to each other's families, we know each other's families, we just like each other as people, and we admire each other as people, and it's fantastic to see in a genuine way, because sometimes people become friends in particular scenarios, in particular situations for a period of time, because it's kind of like, well, we need to work together, so we might as well be friends. But this is not what happens here. This is like the real deal, and it is really fantastic. I think it's a bless in life to meet people like that, let alone end up working and actually going for dreams together, because one's dream is everyone's dream. Everybody's really fighting, for the band to really, thrive, because if the band thrives, you guys are happy, we are happy, everyone thrives. So I get a bit emotional as well thinking about it, because, man, fuck, I can't fucking wait to be with you guys again on the road. And even when we had the stop in 2020, that, like you said, that was just like, that was heavy. But we entered 2022 in a massive way with that big dream, and it was beautiful. So tell me a little bit about what's going on now. I've heard whispers that you guys are working on new music, and tell me a little bit about that process, and if there's anything that you can tell us about, that you're thinking about the future, what you guys might be doing. Tell us a little bit about the relationship with the new singer, Emily. Tell us a little bit about that.
Emily is an old friend. She lives here in São Paulo too, and she's from Natal, which is the northeast of Brazil, which is an amazing city, really cool, very hot.
I've never been
beaches.
to. I really want to go. It's like, yeah.
You should, man. You're gonna like it. It's amazing. It's a really cool town, and she has a band called Far From Alaska, which is an amazing band. It's really cool, really cool. And when Jonathan left, we were like we had those shows in the U.S. booked. We couldn't cancel, so we were like, man, let's find someone to play those shows, and then we figure out what to do. But then we called Emily. She was kind of feeling it, you know. Theo called her, and she said that 2 days before, she was talking with her girlfriend about what it would be like to sing with Ego Kill Talent. That's crazy. And then we've been, since she joined the band, we've been writing stuff, and we rehearse a lot, the old material. But we've been writing stuff in a very different way. I mean, different for us. Everything we did so far was very guitar oriented, you know. Everything began from a guitar riff, and now we've been experimenting with beginning with lyrics or with a melody, something like that. And Emily, she even sent me some melodies, and I put on Pro Tools, and I played some drums over just a melody, and then we're gonna figure the other instruments.
Interesting.
So it's a very new process for us.
Very interesting. Interesting, playing drums over a vocal melody.
Yeah, and I've been trying a different approach, like creating the drum beats according to the lyrics. You know, there's a no, I can't tell any spoilers here, but we did 2 shows with her in the U.S. Right, and we spent a few days writing stuff in a rehearsal studio there, and we came to Brazil and recorded those songs. So we have 4 recorded songs, demos, and we're still writing stuff. We have probably more like 10 or 12 ideas of songs.
Wow.
That are being built at this time, and we plan to record this year and release this year, and hopefully be in the US on the release date to play shows in the US, which is the main goal, the main market. You know, we want to establish ourselves in.
Fantastic. I can't wait. Hopefully that will happen on the second half of this year. That would be absolutely amazing. I remember last year everything was so quick, and I was just obviously in the background, like hearing about things, how things were unveiling, and I was thinking to myself, how are these guys gonna put together like somebody to fit the band and do those shows? Because those shows were really important, big festivals in America, like 2 of the biggest rock metal festivals in the whole of the US, and the band's debut in the US as well, because it was the first time the band was actually performing in the US. So I remember the anticipation of that first show. Everybody was like super. It was crazy. It was really exciting, but at the same time, it was really like, it was a different. It was very different from any of the other shows for obvious reasons. but everyone, we were all like just like kind of nervous in ways that we wouldn't perhaps be if it was not because, you know, it was the US for the first time, it was Emily for the first time, we had, I think, a diminished crew at that point with less people working, so everybody was really like working together to make things work. And it was fantastic because obviously the acceptance was like immediate, and we had like William Morris was there, and C3 was there, Tony and Vega, and everybody was like super stoked and happy to see, you know, that lineup coming together. It was really fantastic. I mean, it was such a great time. Raph, it's been great, man. I mean, I've learned some stuff that I didn't know about you, and I've known you for a few years, so that's fantastic, man. Thanks for sharing all those stories with us.
Nice.
I'm gonna get into some of my, I call the roller coaster questions. They're not too crazy, but you know, I gave the name just for fun, just for the hell of it. So, the first one would be, do you follow or have any morning routines, any rituals?
I don't. I've been running for quite a while, and I've been. I hurt myself during the pandemic, and I just not slowed down, but I was running every day. Now I run every 2 days. Today was my running day. I did 12 kilometers.
Wow! Fuck yeah, that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Well done.
I'm running 15 on Sunday, next Sunday.
Oh, right.
In a competition.
Are you?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So cool.
So that's been kind of not really a routine. I've been running Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays I've been doing just leg workout to make my legs stronger for the running, and that's been kind of my routine in the morning. You know, I wake up, drink a cup of coffee, which I learned from you, just a cup of coffee, and then I go for it.
Fantastic. I mean, I love the fact that you and Jean are like really running, you know, because when you're running like 10, 12, 15K, you know, it's a different ball game. No, I never discourage anyone. I think that if you are someone that just goes out there on a regular basis to do some jogging, to move your body, I mean, thumbs up, well done. But when you start running 10, 12, 15 kilometers, I mean, it takes more to do that, you know, because if you lose consistency, if you spend a few days without running, and you try and do that, I mean, you might be able to, depending on how, you know, consistent you've been in the past, but more often than not, you are actually putting yourself in a very dangerous zone of accruing an injury, you know, because you have to have a consistency and not like big jumps of like, oh, I ran 5K on Tuesday, then I didn't run on Wednesday, Thursday, and on Friday I'm gonna run 15. You know, that's not the kind of jump that you want to put yourself into. And not to give too much credit to me, but I'd like to believe that I had some influence on you and Gian, you know, because, you know, and me and you, we were running back in 2019 in LA during the 606 recordings, remember?
Yeah.
We were running out of...
Yeah, that's where I started. That's where I started, man. I was running like 3 to 5K. That was the very beginning for me.
Chimenez.
Thanks to you.
Chimenez,
yeah. I still have that t-shirt you gave me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Amazing. It makes me so happy, man. You see? That's great. I love it. That's a good routine. Having your body and blood flowing first thing in the morning, just a cup of coffee, that's good. Add some ketones to it, maybe. Add some... coconut oil. MCT. It's gonna make the run easier.
I'm doing it. Because I kind of cut carbs. Not 100%, but I decreased a lot. I'm eating carbs only in the morning.
Okay.
2 slices of bread and that's it. So I'm using the oil as energy source.
So you're adding to your coffee the oil?
No, I'm adding to the food.
Right. Okay. That's great. That's really good. So how long have you been, dabbling with this diet of trying to just have the slices of bread in the morning and then the rest of the day no carbs?
2 months.
How do you feel?
And at the beginning it was a little hard because my body was seeking some energy source and there was none. But afterwards, especially when I began having the coconut oil, it's kind of established and I feel great now.
Yeah, it's really good. It's fantastic what the MCTs and the ketones on those oils, what they do to you. It's incredible. It takes a little while to adjust, but then, man, you can go on no food, you can fast, you can just boom, 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 boom. It's crazy. It's just a readjustment that our organism have to go through, and it's really, really healthy to do those things.
But you put the oil in the coffee?
Yes, yeah. In the morning, I've been basically, I have a window that I eat every day between 1:30 and 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. That's when I eat. So in the morning when I do my training and nowadays I'm not training for anything in particular, but it's very demanding because I normally do a 10K run, then I do a 1,000 meters swim in the pool and a gym workout. So it's really like, it demands energy, and I make 2 cups of coffee in the morning. I brew some coffee and then 1 cup I'm gonna add a teaspoon of pure MCT oil, which is basically just MCT from coconut oils, but it's really, really pure, refined, and coconut oil. Then I blend it, because you need to blend, because otherwise, the oil doesn't dissolve in the coffee. It's oil. It's like putting a tablespoon of, olive oil in a cup of water. You see the bubbles and the oil floating around. So you mix that, and then the coffee becomes like a white coffee. It looks like a white coffee, and you drink that. I love the taste, and automatically, because I wake up more often than not with a little bit of hunger. Even if I'm adjusted to it, I could eat 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. I could easily eat it. I just am trying to. I'm avoiding eating at that period. So the coffee, when I drink the coffee, the hunger goes away. It completely goes away. And I have enough energy to do anything that I want. And if I feel the need of more energy, I might have just a teaspoon of pure MCT oil, and that's it. It gets to 2 p.m., then I decide to break the fast myself. But more often than not, it's not because I'm so hungry. It's just because I need to recover as well. If you're making a lot of exercise, you can't just go fasting. You do need protein, you do need nutrients to recover, so tomorrow you can do it again. Otherwise, you're going to wake up tomorrow completely depleted and feeling achy and feeling shit. Yeah. You might be able to do it for a few days, but if you start feeling shitty, you're not going to be able to train. So it's kind of like an interesting balance. But I'm giving myself like a good, 15, 16, 17 hour, sometimes 18-hour break for my organism, and just eating on a very small window of time. I've never done that before in my life. It's just I've adjusted to that now. I think it's important to just play around with things. And I know a lot of people that just do the ketogenic diet and it works for them. I just love carbs, and I'm not gonna give up on them. I love fruit. I eat a lot of fruit, and I think it depends on each individual's goals and health conditions and whatever you might be interested on. But most important, I think it's to adapt something that you can sustain for the long run. Something that makes you happy, doesn't make you like unsocial, because a lot of people become unsocial, like, oh, I don't eat this, so I can't go out with you to do that. Or like you go to your parents' home and they're ordering pizza and you're like, oh, I don't eat carbs, so I'm not gonna, do you know what I mean? That kind of situation.
Yeah.
Trying to be a bit careful with that as well. But very good, Rafa, very good. I love it. Very good. What's your spiritual practice, if any at all?
I've always been flirting with that, but I always wanted to meditate, but I never had the discipline to do it. I'm not a religious guy. I believe in God. I think in a bigger energy that how can I say that?
Surrounds us. That commands things. That
yeah. And I've never been a religious guy. I believe in energy a lot. I'm a kind of a spiritual guy, I think. I believe a lot in energy. I feel a lot of energy. I've met some people that I didn't feel very comfortable around, and afterwards I knew that those people were for sure, for real, not really nice people. So I have a kind of a feeling for that.
You've mentioned it about meditation. Have you tried
sensitivity? Yeah.
Have you tried meditation?
I've tried. Yeah, I've tried, but I think I have tried the wrong way, because I've always learned that when you meditate, you have to empty your mind, and that's impossible. I think that's impossible. I think it's a matter of channeling your thoughts, right? Not emptying your mind. And but I never knew where to begin, and I never had the discipline to do it.
What you said is an interesting one, because a lot of people think about that being the difficulty of meditation, but which is in fact the exercise of meditation, the sitting, the focus on the breathing and observing the mind, and not trying to empty your mind. Emptying it is just something, just like you said, it's just not gonna happen. But the fact that you're gonna sit quietly and try to be present, and then your mind will keep going to the future, thinking about the past and thinking about what you have to do today and tomorrow and the phone, and then, oh, I'm thinking, comes back to the present. Okay, I'm present. You focus on the breathing, and in 1 second your mind is going away again, and it's going to, and then you come back, present, focus on the breathing, and try to stay there for as long as possible. And more often than not, there will be milliseconds. But each millisecond that you were there, every second between one thought and the other, that's the space that you want to aim to. That's where you want to go. And there is not a place that you're gonna hit and be there. Oh my God, I'm there now. But the exercise of doing that creates the space so much needed in the mind, and gives you the tools to observe your mind and not be so reactive to your perception of things, to perception of feelings, of, of ideas, of the external world outside of you, because we're basically interacting with the world via our five senses. And because of the five senses that we have, and that's all that we understand about what we consider us being ourselves, we think that this is all that exists. Whereas in fact, there could be, and I believe there is so much more of that. We are just not technologically evolved to deal with other things, like frequencies. We have a limited ear to frequencies. Eyes, I mean, we can see for a certain distance because that's how we evolved for several reasons. Our eyes can see for a certain reason, but not so. We're not so good at night, at dark, for example. Very different than cats. And anyway, but the meditation, that's the exercise. Giving yourself some time every day to just sit quietly and practice the presence, and not to worry about, but I'm sitting here and I'm very anxious and I can't. Just do it, because the more you do it, the more you're gonna be able to get present, the more you're gonna observe your mind. And it's a lifelong exercise. It's not something that, I'm meditating 5 hours every day. You're gonna have to do that forever. Maybe if you have the time to do that many hours every day, maybe your journey into this aspect of life, it will make you evolve quicker than other people. But then everyone has a different path, and who actually sits down 5 hours a day to meditate? Unless if you're like a Buddhist monk, you don't do that. But if we all take the time to literally, the health benefits involved are, I mean, science is there to say, lowers your blood pressure, lowers your stresses, make different connections on the brain that you normally don't activate. I mean, it's extreme. It's like, it's a ridiculously cheap, free exercise to do, because we exercise our bodies and, techniques and these and relationships, all outside. Everything we're dealing is outside. But we do not sit to deal with ourselves. The way that we deal with ourselves is treating ourselves with food, with alcohol, with other people, with, therapy. Nothing against it. Much of the contrary. I think it's really important to talk to people about ourselves. But it's all out. You're giving out. You're talking about your story. And then you're hearing, and somebody's helping you navigate your thoughts. But all of those things, they're external. You're not sitting quietly with the real, with yourself, the self, So I highly recommend it. It's one of the things that really changed. I mean, it's changed my life and it's changed me, for the last few years.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try that. I take medicine for anxiety, and I was once talking to the psychiatrist, and he was explaining to me what this medicine does in the brain. And he was speaking about the connections in the brain. And he said, this medicine is a kind of a shortcut to make those connections. And then you make therapy, you do therapy, and you take therapy, and you learn to deal with those new connections, and you live your life without the medicine after that. You can not take the medicine. Yes, you can. You can make those connections by yourself. If you're the Dalai Lama, you're going to make those connections yourself. He told me that. And I was like, I don't think so. Maybe I can do it without being the Dalai Lama, right? I just have to begin. You just have to begin.
I'm so happy that you said that, because I thought you were going to take a sarcastic approach to it, saying you can only achieve if you're the Dalai Lama, and I'm with you. You don't have to be the Dalai Lama to achieve that, to reach that. You know, I think there is a place for antidepressants in society, for therapy, all of those things. They are very, very helpful, and some people really do need those. But ultimately, you can do a lot of the work yourself, with yourself, just having the discipline, allowing yourself 5 minutes. You start with 5 minutes and do it every day. 5 minutes, you know? Who doesn't have 5 minutes to sit down and just focus on the breathing, you know? And then bit by bit, you will notice. And it's like exercising, it's like running. The more you're gonna do it, you're never gonna let go. I'm never gonna stop meditating on my life. It's not gonna happen. I'm never gonna stop running on my life. It's never gonna happen. You know, as soon as you reach that point that you see the benefit that translates into your health, into your relationships, in understanding a little bit, just a little bit more about our minds, this incredible thing that we know very, very little about, you know, I think it's fantastic. It really, really is. I mean, whenever I have a conversation with friends like yourself or people, and people talk, oh, but how do you do this? And what should I eat? What supplement should I take? And what about this session at the gym? I'm like, it's all good. This is all good. But the thing that you should really start doing it is actually taking the time, sitting down, and just focusing on your breathing and observing your mind. That's all you have to do. Kick off with that, because that will make a big difference in life. And you know, it's really complicated. I mean, I tell this to like very close people to me, including family members, that are very reluctant on even trying. And I'm like, why would you not try? It's 5 minutes a day. Oh, I've tried it.
Yeah.
I've tried it. It's just not for me. And that's fine. I think everyone in this existence of ours are in different levels of evolution as well. And by that, I'm not saying, oh my God, I'm so evolved. It's not that. People just absorb and deal with things in the way that they want at that specific time, at that particular time, and that's okay. What you can do is actually, you know, try to share with people that you really like something that you think it's really beneficial to them. You're not advising anyone because you're gonna have any financial benefit. You're not saying because, no, you're just literally saying because, hey, this is gonna be good for you. Just give it a go. Just try it. You know? So Rafa, give it a go. Try it.
I will, man. This and the oil in the coffee.
Yes.
I will, yeah.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. My friend, what a great chat, brother. I'm so stoked that we managed to do this finally. And
me too.
Thank you again for taking the time. Thank you again for sharing some of your stories. I'm sure we can have a part 2 at some point down in the future, because there's so much to talk about. And
Sure.
yeah, man, it's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you soon.
Me too, man. Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm a fan of yours, man. As a person, as a professional, I think you're amazing. You're one of the most incredible guys I know. And yeah, it's a pleasure, man. Anytime, I'm here. Anytime you want to have me, I'm here.
Thank you so much, my friend. Really appreciate your kind words. Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation, this podcast, as much as I did doing it. So if that's the case, please do follow on Instagram at rollercoastercarl, myself at Carl Casagrande, on Twitter, same thing, Facebook, same thing. Do subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on Spotify. That's very, very much appreciated. Thank you, and have a great day. Cheers. Bye-bye.